Hello. Hey. Hi, everybody, social media family. Being whatsoever racist, but then not necessarily being whatever walks of life, factions of society, or lifestyle preferences. Or being as you all are otherwise, my subscribers compared to how, unlike you all or your persons among yourselves, whereas any visitors to that being of my own or to my social media channel and or likewise chat room or comment section could possibly be not only whatsoever racist, but then, in addition, yeah, could not only be whatsoever racist, like you all being my social media family subscribers, but could possibly be in addition, you know, of whatsoever walks of life, factions of society, or lifestyle preferences, you know. But then hopefully none of you all are the latter as well. Well, the latter, you know, or what I mean. So I think you all get the general idea of what that being a person of I myself was trying to say before the rude interruptions. A lot more idiots and sickos or psychos in the world with this global pandemic more than ever before. And other likes of proverbial neighbors from damn hell among themselves, or public nuisance problem neighbors, being of whom continue to attempt to, not only disrespect the rights and privileges of their fellow neighbors, being of some other tenants and residents, but then likewise as they would go about all the same, all the while at the same time disrespect, as in violate their own apartment rental leases, And that stupid does is stupid feels and misery loves company. And lately I've been finding myself waking up rather late as well as start my day off late, because of likes their kind, being of those to be possibly considered like somebody has sabotaged not only, you know, certain other, you know, uh, some of such regarding making reference to my general health, but then likewise as well all the same my sleeping patterns. Like a certain proverbial name from hell is attempting to make me miss out upon an upcoming housing inspection. You know, as he himself is not only, continually or constantly attempting to drive me completely bonkers, but then likewise as well all the same attempting to drive me out of house and home, or attempting to make me become one of the rank and file of the homeless statistics or racial percentiles or percentages or whatever I say, be I speaking correct, proper standard English grammar, being of the American dialect of some such qualities and quantities or not. So I say and or state for that being the record, you know, and or as I had said and stated before, so I say again, as stupid does, as stupid feels, and misery loves company. You know. But then God has not given us a spirit of fear. But being of whom are among ourselves of believers otherwise, of sane persons compared to the likes of his kind, being of idiots and crackpots who attempt to make another's life or others' lives a living damn hell. You know? Yes, God has not given us believers in him a spirit of fear, but he has given us power, you know. Therefore, let me take off these shades. Anyway, though, I was going to broadcast much earlier if I had not lost the frequency transmission of electronic nature device, and this pretty much so is becoming quite a usual regular happening, where I'm having to redo some research, and I just hate doing that. I had gone about typing up the intro as an introduction before I was to, broadcast, and then from there after I had done so, I lost the the former previous prior electronic frequency transmission. So I apologize to you all for that. And that stupid does, stupid feels, for whoever has sabotaged it, some and such are the same as said in question. The former previous prior mentioned, in this day and age, where the devil and the demons are that much more seeking to steal, kill, and destroy, you know, or whereas there is an increased presence of demonic activity in the world, even so far as Mother Nature is concerned, you know, and as a lot of these weather temps is not natural but man-made, you know. So Greta Thunberg, environmentalists, continue to be on your job, you know, to alert others about how mad scientists are attempting to throw a monkey wrench in Mother Nature's program. Speaking of mad or mad scientists, or to speak on that last, crazy carrot top is at it again. You know, our former ex president of the USA, or so I say, and I'll state for the record before I were to go for the original subject matter. I made sure I had, oh, excuse me, Johnny, I had yet to eat something. Then some. Not that anybody would go for a whole day without eating and drinking so much more. And would not go for becoming a hermit either for, a great length of time, you know, on a regular, usual basis. Yes, let me get this out before I were to get to the original topic of the discussion to be debated of the subject matter, or that they are given argument with many different views and opinions to be possibly associated with some of such thereof. You know. Yes, old Carrot Top is at it again, our former ex president of the USA. You know, twice impeached, but yet twice acquitted. I guess he wants to go for a third try at rotting in a can in a jail cell. I mean, where they say out of the frying pan into the fire. You would have thought that he would learn the first time, but it took a second time, you know, to bring it to him to deliver a message, and yet it looks like he himself is once again attempting to incite riot or attempting to get insurrectionists to attempt to overthrow the government. And so I'm sorry, but it's out of my hands now so far as in due regard in reference to the president elect, was I was trying to petition the good graces of the American general public and et cetera, and trying to give, Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt with all things considered, then go ahead and sink your teeth or your fangs in him, old carrot top, Sleepy Joe, Slow Joe. You know what I'm saying? Joe Biden, go ahead and go for that Joe Palooka, Joe Shamuck, Joe Schmo, or Donald Trump otherwise. Hit him where it hurts, like you would think to do to, you know, President than Vladimir Putin of that other superpower being, the former Soviet Union or the USSR, the Union of Soviet Republic, Mother Russia. Then give former ex-president Donald Trump of the USA, United States of America, the business. Seeing the law enforcement community at him. The FBI to come knocking on his door to arrest him. You know, as himself is coming off like a closet commie. You know, because he's really beginning to suck balls more than you. Okay. So gather a committee of investigators, hold what you call a congressional committee to decide whether or not former ex-president Donald J. Trump could possibly be guilty of insurrectionist attempts to overthrow our U.S. government, and whether or not it warrants for him to be arrested and then from there incarcerated, or to be given his own prison tag number to become of the likes and general population for a penitentiary setting of a penal colony, as in to simply say to become or be a jailbird soon enough if he don't stop the madness or that nonsense, you know, and speaking upon those matters of him misbehaving like as if he wants to attempt to incite a riot once again to have insurrectionists attempt to overthrow our U.S. government by attempting to raid our U.S. Capitol for that of our own democratic republic, or being as it is, the democracy for our own country or nation within the Western Hemisphere of the United States of America. And whereas Donald Trump, if he's going to act like a dickhead or a prick or dickhead prick, then he must suffer the serious consequences for misbehaving like so. Excuse my language. Anyway, though, on to other things, because this is what I really want to talk about. And regardless of another dickhead prick being a proverbial name from hell, acting like an idiot and a sicko as usual, quite regular upon a daily and nightly basis, attempting to drive me myself, and that of my person otherwise as a fellow labor, completely bonkers, and likewise misbehaving like as if he himself is attempting to drive me out of house and home or attempting to make me homeless. And as I was saying much earlier, so I say again, whereas lately I've been waking up rather late, like he himself is attempting to make me miss a upcoming rescheduled housing inspection, for my own unit of a place of residence. Anyway, let me read this here to try to maintain my peace of mind, you know, regardless. And as my person am a recovering, not only recovering alcoholic, but then I am a recovering reefer addict. This guy, what you heard in the background, be the neighbor from hell, or somebody calling my phone. One of these dime dozen crank callers, and it could possibly be this one particular proverbial neighbor from hell. Whom I was making reference to. Moonlighting as a crank caller, not to mention possibly likewise as a stalker, and computer hacker, internet troll, and or intruder or home invader. Whereas if I was to catch him in my place of residence, then there would be damn hell to pay. I'm gonna read some, if not all this. I mean, I can possibly read all this one time. Read some of this so that I could look back on it for my own sobriety as I am in recovery. so I can review it at a later given moment in time when I feel that of a rather serious need to do so. Whereas I'm going to try to read the intro abbreviations for both 12 steps and then 12 traditions, or that being of which is commonly called and are known for this particular recovery program, self-help recovery meeting program for this particular one being of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, this is in regard and reference to the 12 steps and 12 traditions. And with that having been said, let me begin. Contents forward, the 12 steps. Step one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Admission of powerlessness is the first step in liberation. Relation of humility to sobriety. Mental obsession plus physical allergy. Why must every AA hit bottom? Step two, can you believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity? What can we believe in? AA does not demand belief. 12 steps are only suggestions. Importance of an open mind. Variety of ways of faith. Substitution of AA as higher power. Plight of disillusion. Roadblocks of indifference and prejudice. Lost faith found in AA. Problems of intellectuality and self-sufficiency. Negative and positive thinking. Self-righteousness. Defiance is an outstanding characteristic of alcoholics. Step two is the rallying point to sanity. Right relation to God. Step three, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step three is like opening up a locked door. How shall we let God into our lives? Willingness is the key. Dependence as a means to independence. Dangers of self sufficiency. Turn our will over to higher power. Misuse of will power. Sustain and personal exertion necessary to conform to God's will. Step four, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. How instincts can exceed their proper functions. Step four is an effort to discover are liabilities. Basic problems of extremes and instinctive drives. Misguided moral inventory can result in guilt, grandiosity, or blaming others. Excess can be noted with liability. Self justification is dangerous. Willingness to take inventory brings light and new confidence. Step four is beginning of lifetime practice. Common symptoms of emotional insecurity are worry, anger, self pity, and depression. Inventory reviews relationships. Importance of thoroughness. Step five, admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 12 steps deflate ego. Step 5 is difficult but necessary to sobriety and peace of mind. Confession is an ancient discipline. Without fearless admission of defects, few could stay sober. What do we receive from step 5? Beginning of true kinship with man and God. Lose sense of isolation, receive forgiveness and give it. Learn humility, gain honesty and realism about ourselves. Necessity for complete honesty. Danger of rationalization, how to choose the person in whom to confide. Results are tranquility and consciousness of God. Oneness with God and man prepares us for following steps. Step six, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step six, necessary to spiritual growth. The beginning of lifetime job. Recognition of difference between striving for objective and perfection. Why we must keep trying. Being ready is all important. Necessity of taking action. Delay is dangerous. Rebellion may be fatal, point at which we abandon limited objectives and move toward God's will for us. Step 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. What is humility? What can it mean to us? The avenue to true freedom of the human spirit. Necessary aid to survival. Value of ego puncturing. Failure and misery transformed by humility. Strength from weakness. Pain is the mission price to new life. Self-centered fear, chief activator of defects. Step 7 is change in attitude, which permits us to move out of ourselves toward God. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. This and the next two steps are concerned with personal relations. Learning to live with others is a fascinating adventure. Obstacles, reluctance to forgive. Non-admission of wrongs to others. Purposeful forgetting. Necessity of exhaustive survey of past. Deepening insight results from thoroughness. Kinds of harm done to others. Avoiding extreme judgment. Taking an objective view. Step 8 is the beginning of the end of isolation. Step 9, made direct amens to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. A tranquil mind is the first requisite for good judgment. Good timing is important in making amens. What is courage? Prudence means taking calculated chances. Amens begin when we join AA. Peace of mind cannot be about at the expense of others, need for discretion, readiness to take consequences of our past and to take responsibility for well-being of others is spirit of step 9. Step 10, continue to take personal inventory. And when we're wrong, promptly admitted it. Can we stay sober and keep emotional balance under all conditions? Self-searching becomes a regular habit. Admit, accept, and patiently correct defects, emotional hangover. When past is settled with, present challenges can be met. Varieties of inventory, anger, resentment, jealousy, envy, self-pity, hurt, pride, all led to the bottle. Self-restraint, first objective, insurance against big shotism. Let's look at condition. Let's look at credits as well as their best. Examination of motives. Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. Praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Meditation and prayer, main channels to higher power. Connection between self, imagination, and meditation and prayer. An unshakable foundation for life. How shall we meditate? Meditation has no boundaries. An individual adventure. First result is emotional balance. What about prayer? Daily petition for understanding God's will and grace to carry it out. Actual results of prayer are beyond question. Rewards of meditation and prayer. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in our affairs. In all our affairs. Joy living is the theme of the 12 step action. Its keyword. Giving that asks no reward. Love that has no price tag. What is spiritual awakening? A new state of consciousness and being is, is received as a free gift. Readiness to receive gift lies in practice of 12 steps. The magnificent reality rewards for helping other alcoholics. Kinds of 12-step work. Problems of 12-step work. What about the practice of these principles in all our affairs? Monotony, pain, and calamity turn to good use by practice of steps. Difficulties of practice. Two-stepping, switch to 12-stepping, and demonstrations of faith. Giving spiritually is the answer to our problems. Placing spiritual growth first. Domination and over dependence. Putting our lives on give and take basis. Dependence upon God necessary to recovery of alcoholics. Practicing these principles in all our affairs. Domestic relations and AA. Outlook upon material matters changes. So do feelings about personal importance. Instinct restored to true purpose. Understanding is key to right attitudes, right action. Key to good living. Okay, that was the 12 steps, you all. And now I will commence with the reading in due regard to, or continue it, and due regard in reference to the 12 traditions, you know, for that of some of such a given moment in time, possibly in addition to reading that, in addition to reading the short version of the 12 tradition, I could read the long form after that. With that having been said, state for the record, let me begin. The 12 traditions. Tradition 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. Without unity, AA dies. Individual liberty, yet great unity. Key to paradox. Each AA's life depends on obedience to spiritual principles. The group must survive or the individual will not. Common welfare comes first. How best to live and work together as groups. Tradition 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. Where does AA get its direction? Yes, the sole authority in AA is loving God as He may express Himself in the group conscious. Formation of a group, growing pains, rotating committees are servants of the group. Leaders do not govern; they serve. Does AA have a real relation? Does AA have a real leadership? Elder statesmen and bleeding deacons. The group conscious speaks. Tradition 3. The only requirement for AA membership is the desire to stop drinking. Early intolerance based on fear. To take away any alcoholic's chance at AA was sometimes to pronounce his death sentence, his or her death sentence, depending on whichever one's getting it. Membership regulations abandoned. Two examples of experience. Any alcoholic is a member of AA when he says so. Tradition 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups of AA as a whole. Every group manages its affairs as it pleases, except when AA as a whole is threatened. Is such liberty dangerous? The group, like the individual, must eventually conform to principles that guarantee survival. Two storm signals. A group ought not to do anything which would injure AA as a whole, nor affiliate itself with outside interests. An example, the AA center that didn't work. Tradition 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. Better do one thing well than many badly. The life of our fellowship depends on this principle. The ability of each AA to identify himself with and bring recovery to the newcomer is a gift from God. Passing on this gift to others is our one aim. Sobriety can't be kept unless it is given away. Tradition 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise. Lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. Experience proved that we could not endorse any related enterprise, no matter how good. We could not be all things to all men. We saw that we would. We saw that we could not lend the AA name to any outside activity. Tradition 6, in Tradition 7, rather, sorry about that, correction. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. No AA tradition had the labor pains this one did. Collective poverty initially a matter of necessity. Fear of exploitation, necessity of separating the spiritual from the material. Decision to subsist on AA voluntary contributions only. Placing the responsibility of supporting AA headquarters directly upon AA members. Bear run expenses plus a prudent reserve is a headquarters policy. Tradition 8. Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. You can't mix the 12 steps and money. Line of cleavage between voluntary 12-step work and paid for services. AA could not function without full time service workers. Professional workers are not professional. AA's relation of AA to industry, education, etc. 12-step work is never paid for, but those who labor and serve for us are worthy of their hire. Tradition 9. AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. Special service boards and committees. The General Service Conference, the Board of Trustees, and group committees cannot issue directives to AA members or groups. AAs can't be dictated to individually or collectively. Absence of coercion works because unless each AA follows suggested steps to recovery, he signs his own death warrant. Same condition applies to the group. Suffering and love are AA's disciplinarians. Difference between spirit of authority and spirit of service. Aim of our services is to bring sobriety within reach of all who want it. Tradition 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. AA does not take sides in any public controversy. Reluctance to fight is not a special virtue. Survival and spread of AA are only are our primary aims. Lessons learned from Washingtonian movement. Tradition 11. Our public relations policy is based on traction rather than promotion. Maintain personal we need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. Public relations are important to AA. Good public relations save lives. We seek publicity for AA principals, not AA members. The press has cooperated. Personal anonymity at the public level is the cornerstone of our public relations policy. 11 tradition is a constant reminder that personal ambition has no place in AA. Each member becomes an active guardian of our fellowship. Tradition 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Spiritual substance of anonymity is sacrifice. Subordinating personal aims to the common good is the essence of 12 traditions. Why AA could not remain a secret society. Principles comes before personalities. 100% anonymity at the public level. Anonymity is real humility. Then shortly after, I may read the long version of this here. As I read the introduction. Introduction. Alcoholics Anonymous first published 12 Steps and 12 Traditions in 1953. Bill W., who along with Dr. Bob S., founded Alcoholics Anonymous in 1935, wrote the book to share 18 years of collective experience with the fellowship of how AA members recover and how our society functions. In recent years, some members and friends of AA have asked if it would be wise to update the language, idioms, and historical references in the book to present a more contemporary image for the fellowship. However, because the book has helped so many alcoholics find recovery, there exists strong sentiment within the fellowship against any change to it. In fact, the 2002 General Service Conference discussed this issue, and it was unanimously recommended that the text in the book, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, written by Bill W., remain as is, recognizing the fellowship feeling that Bill's writing be retained as original, originally published. We hope that the collective spiritual experience of the AA pioneers captured in these pages continues to help alcoholics and friends of AA understand the principles of our program. Forward. Alcoholics Anonymous is a worldwide fellowship of more than 100,000 alcoholic men and women who are together to solve their common problems and to help fellow sufferers in recovering from that age-old battling malady, alcoholism. This book deals with the 12 steps and the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. It presents an explicit view of the principle by which AA members recover and by which their society functions. AA's 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. AA's 12 traditions apply to the life of the fellowship itself. They outline the means by which AA maintains its unity and relates itself to the world about it, the way it lives and grows. Though the essays which follow were written mainly for members, it is thought by many of AA's friends that these pieces might arouse interest and find application outside AA itself. Many people, non-alcoholics, report that as a result of the practice of AA 12 steps, they have been able to meet other difficulties of life. They think that the 12 steps can mean more than sobriety for problem drinkers. They see in them a way to happy and effective living for many, alcoholic or not. There is, too, a rising interest in the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Students of human relations are beginning to wonder how and why AA functions as a society. Why is it, they ask, that in AA no member can be set in personal authority over another? That nothing like a central government can anywhere be seen? How can a set of traditional principles having no legal force at all hold the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous in unity and effectiveness? The second section of this volume, though designed for AA's membership, will give such inquirers an inside view of AA's never before possible. Alcoholics Anonymous began in 1935 at Akron, Ohio, as the outcome of a meeting between a well-known surgeon and a New York broker. Both were severe cases of alcoholism and were destined to become co-founders of the AA Fellowship. The basic principles of AA, as they are known today, were borrowed mainly from the fields of religion and medicine, though some ideals upon which success finally depended were the result of noting the behavior needs of the fellowship itself. After 3 years of trial and error in selecting the most workable tenets upon which the society could be based, and after a large amount of failure in getting alcoholics to recover, three successful groups emerged. The first at Akron, the second at New York, and the third at Cleveland. Even then, it was hard to find three score sure recoveries in all three groups. Nevertheless, the Infant Society determined to set down its experience in a book which finally reached the public in April 1939. At this time, the recoveries numbered about 100. The book was called Alcoholics Anonymous, and from it, the fellowship took its name. In it, alcoholism was described from the alcoholic's point of view. The spiritual ideal of the society were codified for the first time in the 12 steps, and the application of these steps to the alcoholic's dilemma was made clear. The remainder of the book was devoted to 30 stories or case histories in which the alcoholics described their drinking experiences and recoveries. This established identification with alcoholic readers and proved to them that the virtually impossible had now become possible. The book Alcoholics Anonymous became the basic text of the fellowship, and it still is. This present volume proposes to broaden and deepen the understanding of the 12 steps written first written in the earlier work with the publication of the book Alcoholics Anonymous in 1939. The pioneering period ended, and a prodigious chain reaction set in as the recovered alcoholics carried their message to still others. In the next years, alcoholics flocked to AA by tens of thousands, largely as a result of excellent continuous publicity freely given by magazines and newspapers throughout the world. Clergymen and doctors alike rallied to the new movement, giving it unstinted support and endorsement. This startling expansion brought with it very severe growing pains. Proof that alcoholics could recover had been made, but it was by no means sure that such great numbers of yet erratic people could live and work together with harmony and good effect. Everywhere there arose threatening questions of membership, money, personal relations, public relations, management of groups, clubs, and scores of other perplexities. It was out of this vast welter of explosive experience that AA's 12 traditions took form and were first published in 1946 and later confirmed at AA's first international convention held at Cleveland in 1950. The traditions section of this volume portrays in some detail the experience which finally produced the 12 traditions and so gave A its present form, substance, and unity. As AA now enters maturity, it has begun to reach into 40 foreign lands. In the view of his friends, this is but the beginning of his unique and valuable service. It is hoped that this volume will afford all who read it a closer view of the principles and forces which have made Alcoholics Anonymous what it is. AA's General Service Office may be reached by writing Alcoholics Anonymous, P.O. Box 459, Grand Central Station, New York, New York 10163, USA. And now I will try to read the long version of 12 Traditions without any further. 12 Traditions, long form. Our AA experience has taught us that 1. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is but a small part of a great whole. AA must continue to live, or most of us will surely die. Hence, our common welfare comes first, but individual welfare follows close afterward. Tradition 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Tradition 3. Our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Hence, we may refuse none who wish to recover, nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any two or three alcoholics gathered together for sobriety may call themselves an AA group, provided that as a group they have no other affiliation. Tradition 4. With respect to its own affairs, each AA group should be responsible to no other authority than its own conscience. But when its plans concern the welfare of neighboring groups also, those groups are to be consulted, and no group, regional committee, or individual should ever take any action that might greatly affect AA as a whole without conferring with the trustees of the General Service Board. On such issues, our common welfare is paramount. Tradition 5. Each Alcoholics Anonymous group ought to be a spiritual entity, having but one primary purpose, that of carrying his message to the alcoholic who still suffers. Tradition six: problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. We think, therefore, that any considerable property of genuine use to AA should be separately incorporated and managed, thus dividing the material from the spiritual. An AA group, as such, should never go into business. Secondary aids to AA, such as clubs or hospitals, which require much property or administration, ought to be incorporated and so set apart that, if necessary, they can be freely discarded by the groups. Hence, such facilities ought not to use the AA name. Their management should be the sole responsibility of those people who financially support them. For clubs, AA members are usually preferred, but hospitals, as well as other places of recreation, ought to be well outside AA and medically supervised. While an AA group may cooperate with anyone, such cooperation ought never to go so far as affiliation or endorsement, actual or implied. An AA group can bind itself to no one. Tradition 7: the AA group themselves are to be fully supported by the voluntary contributions of their own members. We think that each group should soon achieve this ideal, that any public solicitation of funds using the name of Alcoholics Anonymous is highly dangerous, whether by groups, clubs, hospitals, or other outside agencies. That acceptance of large gifts from any source or con- contributions carrying any obligation, whatever, is unwise. Then, two, we view with much concern those AA treasuries which continue beyond prudent reserves to accumulate funds for no stated AA purpose. Experience has often warned us that nothing can so surely destroy our spiritual heritage as futile disputes over property, money, and authority. Edition 8: Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non professional. We define professionalism as the occupation of counseling alcoholics for fees or hire, but we may employ alcoholics where they are going to perform those services for which we might otherwise have to engage non alcoholics. Such special services may be well recompensed, but our usual AA 12 step work is never to be paid for. Tradition 9: each AA group needs the least possible organization. Rotating leadership is the best. The small group may elect its secretary. The large group is rotating committee. In the groups of a large metropolitan area, their central or inter-group committee, which often employs a full-time secretary. The trustees of the General Service Board are, in fact, our AA General Service Committee. They are the custodians of our AA tradition and the receivers of voluntary AA contribution by which we maintain our AA General Service Office at New York. They are authorized by the groups to handle our overall public relations, and they guarantee the integrity of our principal newspaper, the AA Grapevine. All such representatives are to be guided in the spirit of service, for true leaders in AA are but trusted and experienced servants of the whole. They derive no real authority from their titles. They do not govern. Universal respect is the key to their usefulness. Petition 10: no AA group or member should ever, in such a way as to implicate AA, express any opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous group oppose no one. Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatsoever. Tradition 11: our relations with the general public should be characterized by personal anonymity. We think AA ought to avoid sensational advertising. Our names and pictures as AA members ought not be broadcast, filmed, or publicly printed. Our public relations should be guided by the principle of attraction rather than promotion. There is never need to praise ourselves. We feel it better to let our friends recommend us. Tradition 12. And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. And that, my friends, that is my social media family. any visitors to that being my on my own social media channel, and likewise chat room or comment section, is making reference to this one particular, you know, social media broadcast being the present one, you know, and I hope that one and many have gotten something out of what was said. If you yourself could possibly have a drinking problem and be seeking some of such recovery yourselves in due regard or in reference to these matters, be you a believer in God, as I myself am, in other words, that being of a Christian and or Protestant or not, because it's open to all. Then I may shortly close here after this particular present social media broadcast. But first of all, I must recommend some of such of certain solicitors because they come in here with the same old crap as usual. You know, it's going to report. You see unwanted commercial content or spam. For that is some such as it says here. It's a report message unwanted commercial content or spam, pornography or sexually explicit material, child abuse, hate speech or graphic violence, promotes terrorism, harassment, or bullying, suicide, or self-injury, or misinformation. I'm going to say unwanted commercial content or spam. So I reported this one user coming here, I'm chatting with this crap, and this report as well. Sick and tired of this here. Coming here pulling this crap. Everybody else, please do disregard or ignore the internet trolls attempting to trash my social media, broadcast with their spam, whereas in due time I will personally silence their chat and then last last but not least block the likes of them and ask their presence is not welcome when they themselves continue to attempt to do that. Hey, but then if you all have not accepted Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins by recognizing and realizing what He Himself had done upon the cross of Calvary, so that you won't wind up in a lake of fire, damn hell, once you were to leave this world, but so that you can enter into the kingdom of heaven as citizens thereof yourselves, or so that you won't be tortured by the devil and demon for all eternity in hell, compared to how we as believers in God will be in the presence of God and His angels otherwise, and fellow like-minded believers. Y'all take care and be blessed. We out. Peace.